Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Integrity Leadership Call. Glad to have everyone on this evening. I have a special training for you all because the deacons are in town. The deacons are in town. That is Mr. Phil and myself. Okay, Mr. Phil and myself, and we will be covering Chapter 9 on Code of the Extraordinary Mind. Real quick, by Vishen Lakhiani. So you can see the book. This is the book. I know we've been sending the audiobook from YouTube. So if you don't have the book, no worries. Is the audiobook is for free on YouTube and you can take a listen there. The chapter 9, okay? Not gonna say the word, but it's be unf-wittable. Okay? Be unf-wittable. Okay?
Well, maybe I can say it since
Okay.
if you don't want to say it.
I mean, we can.
Fuckwithable. Be unfuckwithable.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah,
this is fun. I like this. I showed up.
That is it. So that is our chapter that we are covering for the next 4 weeks. The Deacon Sorrentino and myself will be covering it for the first 2 weeks, and then the next 2 weeks, Antonio, the pastor, will be back, and he will be covering it, chapter 9, for those 2 weeks. So it says where we learn how to be fear proof. Fear proof. Okay, now I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who needs to see that and hear that be fear proof, but that is something that I struggle with. I get tense and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. Just ask Deanna, she'll tell you. And the first thing it says, train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. Guess who said that, y'all? Yoda from Star Wars. I'm not mad at Yoda, okay? Because he had a point. Okay, train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. We can just start right there. Okay? Anybody got some thoughts on that? You train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. Anybody have any thoughts?
That sounds like a good situation, honestly, because that's kind of what we've been doing lately. If we're setting our mind to what we want and not what we don't want, how Antonio was just basically telling us that we don't focus on the problem. If you focus on the problem, that's how you end up with the continuous problem. You focus on what you really want, right? That's what it sounds like to
Right.
me.
Okay. All right. All right, Miss Ashley. So if you focus on what you
Good
really want.
evening.
Good evening, Dr. Sugar. Good evening. All right.
And
We
perfect
we are
love
on.
and perfect
ahead,
love
sir.
casts out all fear.
That's right. Okay. Perfect love casts out all fear. All right, y'all. We are already starting. And that was just a quote from Yoda from Star Wars. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, for you big Star Wars fans.
And
So,
I read this out of the book earlier. You are a badass. Your
okay.
faith in the universe must be stronger than your fear of not getting what you want. And then surrendering is part where you hand the job over to the universe. So your faith in the universe must be stronger than your fear of not getting what you want.
Okay. Yeah, y'all, we got to talk about that one too. What Mr. Field just read? Yeah, your faith. One more time, Mr. Field. I needed that to resonate with me.
Let me find. I shut the book. Let me find it again.
It's okay.
Talk among yourselves.
Well,
Smoke them if you got them.
Glad to have everyone on. Hey, Miss Monica, Dr. Sugar, Miss Susan, and Miss Sherry. Good to have you on. And Mr. Stradivari. Good to see you. Glad to have y'all on and Miss Lavon. All right. Coach Eames, can't forget about Coach Eames. Glad to have y'all. We are from chapter 9 of Code of the Extraordinary Mind. There we go. Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. And chapter 9 is called Be Unfuckwithable. That's his words, not mine. I'm just quoting, okay? So that's the name of the chapter. You can just tell, hey, you are a beast when you are unfuckwithable. I'm just saying. You are a beast when and Mr. Phil, he has the right book. You're a badass. Yeah. He talks about that in this book too, because the first subtitle is how to be a spiritual badass. Go ahead, Mr. Phil.
Your faith in the universe must be stronger than your fear of not getting what you want.
Ooh, okay. Okay. Wait a minute. So my faith in the universe must be stronger than my fear of not getting what I want. So if you want to be that multimillionaire, that billionaire, is your faith stronger in the universe than it is being fearful of not being that multimillionaire or billionaire? We we got to talk about it. Y'all already know. Phil and I, we are facilitators, and we will call on y'all. We are teachers, okay? We will call on y'all. Your faith in the universe must be stronger than your fear of not getting what you want. We got to talk about that. What does that mean? Because it's going to be something different to everybody. Because everybody doesn't want the same thing. Miss Deanna.
Don't let don't let nothing get in your way. Don't let nothing get in your way. Don't even let fear, don't let doubt, none of that get in your way to go after what you want. Because when you have the faith and you're connected to the energy, then you can go after what you want and still uh not be conceited or not be like with your nose stuck up in the air because you somebody now, but we known you before you was nobody, but you could be that humble person and still get what you want and still dominate.
All right, Prophet Jerry. Thank you so much. Y'all heard him. We don't go behind the preacher. All right, Miss D. Marie.
So I just want to verify before I respond to make sure I caught it right. You read you should fear the universe more than you fear not getting what you want.
Your
Have
faith in the
faith.
universe, not your fear of the universe, your faith in the universe. I think it's interesting. They do an example right after that. It's like hiring somebody to clean your house so you can focus on the other work you enjoy doing. You explain in detail what they're supposed to do. You show them where the broom is. You tell them you'll beat them to death if they break any ceramic mugs your niece made for you. But you trust them with the job. If you're constantly hovering over them and grabbing the sponge out of their hand, here, let me do that, they'll never get their work done, and you'll stay overwhelmed, struggle, preventing yourself from reaping the benefits that inspired you to hire the crew in the first place. So if you give it over to God and you keep trying to tell God what God should be doing, then God can't do what he's doing, and you can't do what you were going to do because you let go of it to God take care of it. That's where that faith comes in.
D. Marie,
I mean, so with that being said, my perception and my understanding of have more faith in the universe is basically kind of like what Prophet Jerry was saying. Just go after it, but it's more to it. You have to go after what it is you love the most and have faith that the universe put everything into place for you. And that's when the law of allowing comes into place, because you're still going to get the crap you don't want. But you have to have enough faith in the universe to know that once you begin your journey, the universe will give you everything you need. You just have to stay on your journey and don't allow the reality you see to interfere with the reality that you believe.
Stay in the plane.
That's it. That's it. You want to bring up law of allowing and stuff. So you know, if you bring up law of allowing, then you got to bring the law of deliberate creation in there too. Yep, that's the face you make. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So if you, oh, now she want to sip of water. So now, in what Deanna was saying, when she said the law of allowing, when you have that faith in source or in God more than the fear of what you want, yeah, because the thing is, we hear it all the time from Antonio that when you say what it is that you want and you make that decision, of course the opposite has to show up. So what you don't want has got to show up, because how are you going to be grateful for what it is you do want if what you don't want doesn't show up? And because of that, that's where what Deanna was saying, the law of allowing comes in, but then also the law of deliberate creation. That's where that comes in too. So thanks a lot, D. Thanks so much. Don't look all innocent over there like what I do. No. All right. Anyone else?
Interesting. Wayne Dyer has an interesting analogy. He says the difference between a wise man, a truly fulfilled individual, and us as human beings is this: we want strawberry ice cream. We go out, we get a job, we get paid, we pay our taxes, we go to the grocery store, we look through the freezer, we pick out the ice cream we want, we go up, we pay for it, we go home, we take it out of the bowl, we put it in a dish, we take our spoon and we go, strawberry ice cream. The masters they start like this. They start going, strawberry ice cream.
Mr. Phil. Gotcha. All right, Mr. Phil. Yes. I'm not going behind that. All right, so I'm not going behind that. So does anyone
when
else
you study Jesus's life, that's what Jesus did. His whole life was that.
That's right. He didn't go and get a job so he can go and get no.
He didn't have a place to live. He was homeless.
That's right. That's right. It does say that. It says that in the sacred text. So of course, oh my goodness, yeah. He just lifted bread in the air and was grateful for it. Came down, there was a lot of it. Yeah. Hey, go to those fish over there. Got some coins in the mouth. Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. Wow. Okay. All right. Anyone else have anything to share just on this part that we're speaking on?
This is Susan.
Go ahead,
I
Miss
just
Susan.
feel like we have never been challenged by this more than we are in this present time that we're in, with the pandemic and all the uncertainty and all the unknown out there, and what the future holds with all of that going on and how things are going to pan out. So I just feel like we need to be doing this, studying this more now than ever before in our lifetime that we've ever experienced.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
But the interesting thing about that is that it's all relative. When we were years ago in the cave, wondering, I hope this fire thing that we just discovered keeps going because I like being warm. I'm going out there. I hope I can find something to kill so that I can eat, or something that grows that I can eat that doesn't poison me. And we're finding out through trial and error as we go through that process of manifesting what we want. So I believe it's just a different issue. It's the same concept. They're fearing, like, how are we going to have enough food for tomorrow? How are we going to keep our families safe? How are we going to get enough water? How are we going to get enough information? And now we're doing the same thing, but it's at a whole different level. It's on a whole different concept. Our brains is dealing with the same issues, but on different levels.
Well, the difference of our generations now is we've had access to everything that we want. We are really a very spoiled nation, as we're seeing right now, by people can't do the simple things to get through this a lot faster if everyone would have just worked together. And that's really, I believe, has been the biggest message from all of this is, we have had everything. People in the cave didn't have those things. The generations before, our parents didn't have those things, but we just can't handle, doing the simple tasks that it takes as a people to get through this situation. That's because so many people are lost. So many people don't have what we have here at ATS, what we have in this group, the things that we study every day that keep us where we are. I mean, look at what's going on in this all over the world, but especially in our country. We had all the resources to take care of this, early on, and we just didn't because of all the issues that we have. And that's going to be what will be studied years from now, generations from now.
So Susan, what? We should feel guilty about it? We should feel bad about it? I'm not getting what you're trying to say.
I'm saying that there are so many people that need to hear this, that need to practice this, that need to have that faith and be positive and trust our country to do the right thing. And we can't even do that. We can't even do that as a nation. So
we have to start as an individual. It starts with your responsibility as an individual to be loving, forgiving, and grateful.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. We here are practicing that and learning it and striving to be better every day. And that's where we as individuals can be that light and can share it with others. But you're right, we have to start with ourselves. We have to do that every day for our own peace and to get through what's going on and to just, understand everything's going to be okay. But so many people are just not there. And that's the part I'm talking about. And what do we do about that?
Well, we remind them that that's what it's all about. It's like when I talked about the lady I spoke to the Minnesota Victims Assistance Conference. 600 people. We had mothers against drunk driving, parents of murdered children, victims of incest. By the way, that conference, they changed their name to Survivors of Incest. 600 people. And the lady that followed me, her message was riveting. The year was 1985. Her plane took off from Greece, was on its way to Egypt, and was forced to land on the island of Malta. The hijackers, every 15 minutes, took a hostage, put them in the door of the airplane, put a gun to their skull, pulled the trigger, and kicked them down the stairs. There was an American woman that laid on the tarmac for 5 hours pretending to be dead. And she followed me that day in Minnesota. Her message was riveting. She said they lined them up. First of all, they had the Americans. And 15 minutes before it was her turn to go to the door of the airplane, and all she could describe it as a sense of knowing that everything would be all right. She knew if she died, everything would be all right. She knew if she lived, everything would be all right. So she went to the door with a kind of a sense of anticipation, like, cool, everything's going to be all right. She heard the click, she felt the pressure, and down she tumbled. She opened her eyes, ready to see heaven. And all she saw was blacktop. She was pissed. She goes, where's heaven? But the lady before her moved. And the hijackers ran down the stairs and finished her off. So Jackie said to herself, I better not move. And she laid there for 5 hours. She had an out-of-body experience. Her soul rolls out of her body. She saw her body laying on the tarmac. She saw the blood streaming out of the back of the skull, and she was traveling toward the white light. She met up with her grandmother, who had died 2 years earlier, and they together were traveling to the white light. At some point during that journey, that sense of knowing overcame her again and said, Jackie, it's not your time. She turned to her grandma and says, Grandma, it's not my time, but you're going to be okay. You go to the light. And her soul went back into her body. Did we just make a difference if we just remember those two things, that no matter what's going on, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this chapter, everything's going to be all right. No matter what's going on, life is going to defeat darkness. And number two, none of us are going before our time. So what's important now? Can you focus on the present? Can you realize the past resolves in your memory? The future resolves in your imagination. All we have is the now. How do you present yourself? How do you get yourself in the present so you don't get too far ahead of yourself? You don't worry about too far behind yourself, and you're able to focus on what you need to be doing at the moment you're supposed to be doing it. So be loving, forgiving, and grateful. Unconditional love, absolute forgiveness, and total gratitude.
That's it. Y'all heard Mr. Field?
One of the things that
Go ahead,
20
Dr. Terry.
good evening, everybody.
Morning, evening, doctor.
Oh, what happened? I was
You're there.
there. Oh, okay. Well, I'm here. The little thing just broke and I hang my phone on. One of the things that 2020, COVID, and all of this situation has brought to light to a lot of us, I feel, especially with ATS, is that through it all, we have not given up hope. We haven't given up the dreams. And I feel that some of us, our dreams are manifesting and has even become better than what it was in 2019, 2018, 2015. So I think we're further ahead because of the source, because of the universe, and because the closeness that we've become in knowing ourselves, that everything will be all right. It's a little dark now, but everything will be all right. I don't really know what I'm doing or where I'm going, but everything's going to be all right. If I can hold on just a little bit longer, and if I can hold on and listen a little bit longer, everything will be all right. And for those that don't have it, that's why us that do, we can pray for those, lift those up, encourage them. This morning was phenomenal. The way that the universe, the source kicked in for Sandra. And it wasn't anything that was planned. It wasn't even anything she had even thought about doing. But the way that it went was such a blessing, I believe, to all of us. And Carisha, the same thing, just her speaking out with such encouragement and such positive words that she used of encouragement, that I think we're better off now because we didn't give up. And there was always hope because Antonio presented our present with such positiveness. And I think that's something that has kept us going. Well, I can say has kept me going. You know, I've never been without a job, but this has been some of the best times that I've had. I'm kind of liking this because it's giving me time for me. No matter, it might seem like I'm forever doing all of these things, but it's given me some me time to reflect on what's going on, and I'm loving it. Thanks.
Oh, Dr. Trask, you've been a fruit of you've been the fruit of what we've been trying to do. You've just been an amazing example, and time again, bringing who you are and what you do has touched all of us. And again, we appreciate you. I challenge you a couple things. Go to listen to the song Just One Victory. Go to YouTube when you can. It's called Just One Victory by Todd Rundgren, Rundgren. And I think now would be the perfect time if I can employ on Grace, because Grace is a better reader than I am. Grace, could you read the How to Be a Spiritual Badass? Because I think now is the appropriate time for us to expose that to the group.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before that, Mr. Field, I know Prophet Jerry had his mic unmuted. Prophet
Oh,
Jerry, did you
good.
have
Yeah,
something?
sure. We always want to hear from Prophet Jerry.
Well, what I was gonna say is going back to the faith thing. You think about one of the scriptures says now faith. So it's not saying tomorrow or yesterday or could be, but it's saying now faith is the substance of things hoped for and for the evidence of things not seen. So when you have that now faith, you can go after what you want and not and be successful with it and not be ungrateful or what's the word I'm looking for? Not be ungrateful and not wait. But when you have that faith, you got to move right then and there. Because the universe is saying, move, go get, this business, go get your LLCs, go get this stuff so you can be not legend. I'm thinking about Christina and Mr. Byers. She calls him the legend, but not legend, but you can leave a legacy behind. When you move in that now faith, you can leave a legacy behind that someone still be talking about you 20, 30 years from now.
Well, that reminds me of, I love to ask people, and especially ministers, why do we have nothing written by Jesus? Pretty good question, isn't it? Why do we have nothing written by him? Why didn't he write anything?
Wow. That's a good question.
Yeah. Just especially ask ministers, because you get all kind of like, he was the word. All right. He didn't know how to write. Sure. God incarnate, but doesn't know how to write. I don't think so. He had other people write for him. Here's my guess. Your path is different than my path. Prophet Jerry's path is different than Ashley's path. Monica's path is different than Deanna's path. So Jesus consciously didn't want to write anything down, because if he did, everybody would go, guys, we have to do this. Jesus wrote it. We have no choice. We have to do this. So it all comes down to free will and faith. And if you knew exactly what the deal was, you wouldn't need faith.
Bill, you should have asked that nun that made you sit down at that question.
That's called a callback, Monica. Good job. Well played.
Ooh-wee. Okay, then. Okay, Mr. Fields. Yes, if Jesus had written everything down, yeah. Yeah, who would need faith? You were correct, sir. All right. Okay, how to be a spiritual badass. Here we go. There is a great myth in spirituality today that in order to be spiritual, we must resign ourselves from the world. In other words, to be spiritual, one must avoid big goals, ambitions, and wealth. Rubbish. I believe the most spiritual people in the world today are those who are doing things to push the human race forward. To be extraordinary is to be connected to this spiritual aspect of yourself and to feel it move you to create, change, invent, and rattle the world. Ken Wilber, perhaps the greatest living philosopher in the world today, wrote a beautiful essay on this subject called egolessness. In it, he says, the typical person wants the spiritual sage to be less than a person, somehow devoid of all the messy, juicy, complex, pulsating, desiring, urging forces that drive most human beings. We want our sages to be untouched by them altogether. And that absence, that vacancy, that less than personal is what we often mean by egoless. But egoless does not mean less than personal, it means more than personal. Not personal minus, but personal plus. All the normal personal qualities plus some transpersonal ones. Think of the great yogis, saints, and sages from Moses to Christ to, I'm going to mess this name up, Pad Masam Bahaba. Okay, there we go. They were not feeble mannered. Milk, milk,
Milk toast.
Thank you, milk toast. Never heard of that word until today. But fierce movers and shakers. from bullwhips in the temple to subduing entire countries. They rattled the world on its own terms, not in some pie in the sky piety. Many of them instigated massive social revolutions that have continued for thousands of years. And they did so not because they avoided the physical, emotional, and mental dimensions of humanness and the ego that is their vehicle, but because they engaged them with a drive and intensity that shook the world to its very foundations. So, Mr. Field
Woo!
wanted to read that. Yes. How to be a spiritual badass. So, egolessness does not mean less than personal, it means more than personal. If you think about it, what he was saying, all the um, there are many of us on the call who are Christians, and so Moses and Christ, they didn't what did he say? Where was it? He said you had to. People think that you have to be, less than. They weren't less than. They were
Evil mannered milk toasts.
that that. Okay, they were fierce movers and shakers. Jesus didn't, back away when people, came at him crazy. No, he told them, hey, this is what it is. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what is going to happen. And so, yeah, the egolessness. You don't have to be some meek and mild person, and no. And egolessness does not mean weak. It means more than personal. So you have to have all of that plus. You know, Mr. Field, did you want to share anything?
No, it means that you need to be strongly founded in your belief and your faith and who you are and what you're bringing to the table and your intent, but flexible enough to bend. It's only when you become stiff and rigid can you break. So it's being solidly founded in, I'm here, God, to follow your path. I've got my path. I know you want to help me get to my path. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. Sorry.
All right. Anyone else like to share in that part? Being a spiritual badass. You act like y'all not some spiritual badasses. Come on. We'll keep going. See, they ought to say y'all know. Y'all know. All right. I don't want to be quiet tonight. All right, I see y'all. Um,
We could call on people.
we could. Okay. Now I do remember saying that we are facilitators and teachers call on people when y'all get quiet. We got to make sure that y'all know, y'all
Yeah, when
understand
I
what
look
we're
at these
talking about.
faces, there's a number of these papers. I want to hear from you. I want to hear, well, like Stradivarius. I always love to hear what he has to say. He always brings something unique and
Ah,
different to the table. Ashley,
yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
Levon, I love hearing from you people.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got for us?
Okay. Now,
Did
okay,
we
I'm
say a
gonna read.
spiritual
Oh,
bad A? Is that what we talking
that's
about?
it. That's it. Being a spiritual badass. That's it.
Okay. Can I buy a vowel? Can we help me out?
Okay. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read one more part, and then I think this will get you talking.
Okay.
By Val. Ken Wilber's profound words helped me resolve some of my own inner conflicts on being spiritual. I think there are many ways to be spiritual, and one of them is to be spirited, filled with forward-looking energy and the courage to challenge the status quo, like the scientists, entrepreneurs, and titans who are working on projects to push humanity forward. We don't have to choose between Buddha or badass. The idea is to be both. Indeed,
Ooh,
sometimes the only way to be effective at one is to master the other.
I love it. I love that. I can sign up for that. Yeah, make me a spiritual bad A. I think uh, the main part I think I agree with, and I think it's pretty cool, is that when you really take the opportunity to be open-minded and allow yourself to create, because you are more creative when you're more open-minded to more than one thing. I think it's boring when you are closed-minded, especially when it's an opportunity where someone wants to teach you something new.
Okay, that part, yes. Thank you so much, Miss Ashley. Anyone else? In order,
I believe I
go ahead.
believe being a spiritual badass is the fact that you're not letting everyone dictate to you what is your spirituality.
Yes, sir.
All my thing is, all up till last year, I knew church, but now I'm learning kingdom. There's a difference. I'm learning kingdom because church will have you in doctrine and traditions and have you lost. But last year of being to the point where I had to leave West Virginia and come here, I was told that I was leaving church because of emotions of being hit by the car and being in a nursing home. No, I heard the voice of God said, you got to move to North Carolina. And moving here is the best thing that happened to me. Then in October, November, meeting ATS was the second thing that would happen to me. So I'm learning kingdom and how to build kingdom, help others build kingdom, and pull them out of that tradition and doctrine. That's being a spiritual badass, if you want to know what that is.
Okay,
That's excellent.
All right, now, Prophet.
I have a question for Grace and Phil. Hi, this is April. Hello.
April.
Hi, April.
What happens? Because oh goodness, how do I explain this properly? I'm in a place, in a space that is very stifling. And I've encountered this opposition before, but it's different because it is in terms of employment, right? So I'm trying to do exactly what you all are teaching, right? And working principles that I know that I should be, right? But for whatever reason, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. It's almost like, people aren't comfortable unless you're uncomfortable. Like, unless you're dimming yourself or just, downplaying yourself to the point where you're no longer shining, or you're so docile that it's just, now they're comfortable when you're just so not into it. I hope this is making sense.
It does.
Okay.
Well, that makes one of us. Keep going. Or Grace, you explain it to me because I'm a little confused.
Confused.
Yes, I love that.
Ashley, did you have your hand up?
No, I was
April?
saying I can explain what she said.
Oh, good.
Go ahead.
Maybe
Please.
April, let me know if I got that right. So you're saying basically that the fact that we understand we have power and what we know we're capable of, in order to make others feel comfortable, we sometimes dim our light, humble ourselves, and in that we humble ourselves to a point where we dim our light so much that they're comfortable and we're not at our full self and really showing what we're really working with. We're just showing a little bit because we want to make everybody feel good.
Correct.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but to me, that I hear that's just part of being wisdom. That's just part of being mature. That's just part of.
Sometimes feel,
But it's draining.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Mr. Phil, I wanted to stratify also. I also wanted to say that the challenge is between self and how you can actually benefit from actually what may transpire of what happened to you in your life. So if you have a challenge that you've lost a job, that's just giving you another challenge to have. It's always something out there that's much better than a job you really just had. So it's all about how much you're going to challenge yourself to have something that's totally better than what you have right now, to make you feel as though that's the whole part of you that's going to make you happy and give you the gifts that you need. and just provide for yourself to just make you have that challenge in winning would be the best challenge that you ever had.
Excellent.
I just wanted to say that.
All right. Also, Miss April, someone asked me to ask you, is it that someone is bullying you to the point to force you to dim your light?
Sort of. Yeah.
We. No, I'm looking. I'm looking. Not no, because I'm looking at the person.
I was asking because as she was asking her question, it sounded like she was kind of skating around the fact that not skating around the fact, but skating around because she doesn't want to call this person a bully or think that this person is bullying her, but they're pushing her so much to a point where it's forcing her to dim her light just to be in harmony with them where she is.
Right.
So it's okay. So it's not a matter of her humbly dimming her light. It's the matter of, in order for her to have peace wherever it is, she has to play stupid.
Right.
My God.
So that's what she was talking about, Mr. Phil.
Wow. Well, I've said this before, that highly evolved spiritual people believe that the same spirit that's in you is the same spirit that's in me. We are one. What I do to you, I do to me. Less evolved people feel very uncomfortable being around highly evolved people, and they'd rather be around even people that are less evolved than they are, because they can go, I'm not as bad as they are, and they feel very uncomfortable being around highly evolved people. So obviously this person is not a highly evolved person, because if they were, they wouldn't even, their behavior wouldn't even have crossed their mind. And that's where you have to pray for them and be higher. Now, are you looking for employment elsewhere, or is it your current job?
It's my current position. I actually had an interview today. It didn't go very well because I was nervous.
Let me help you with that. When
Mhm.
you go apply for a job, you're interviewing them. You need to approach it like that. I'm seeing if I'm right for you.
Yeah, it
I'm not-
wasn't a good fit on either end. Like, it was just like,
Yeah.
the vibe is weird. Their
So you go
questions are
next.
kind of off. Their personality is kind of off. I don't think this will be a good fit for me.
Perfect. Good. So that's a perfect attitude to have.
Yeah.
All right. Excuse me.
Does that help, April?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I hope that helped. April,
I was trying to find the unmute button. I'm sorry. Yes, it
Okay.
does. I appreciate all the advice. And I oh goodness, what is his name? The lady summed it up very well, what I was feeling and what I was thinking. And yeah, the advice from the gentleman. What is your name? I'm trying to find you.
Stradivari?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm making
Take
a
as
note
much
of
as you
everything that
want,
he
dear.
said. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
All right.
April, if you've noticed something about the group, we historically let people take all the time they want to take,
Yes.
because that's what we're here for. We're here to help out each individual, and we can't help you unless we take time to know you, unless we take time to understand you, unless we take time for you to understand us. So I've been around for over 3 years, and I've never heard Antonio once cut somebody off because of a time issue, ever, in 3 years. So please, when you're on these calls, when we're working together, when we're trying to help you, realize time should not be an issue. Helping you with your situation is the issue, no matter how long it takes.
That's it. All right.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Somebody put a heart up. Thank you, Ashley. Oh.
Good. Okay. Did anyone else have anything else to share right there?
Well, real quick, in chapter 8, he talks about the three most important questions. And if you haven't gotten these three, it sets everything else up. Question number one, what experiences do you want to have in this lifetime? See, that couples with my belief that you choose the life you're manifested in. If you want to learn something, and what it takes to learn something is you're a starving person in India, then you manifest yourself in the life as a starving person in India so you can learn what that teaches you. Number two, how do you want to grow? Number three, how do you want to contribute? And then he breaks it down with the question one. He says, you start off with, and the question one is, what experience do you want to have in this lifetime? And it has to, number one, your love relationships. What experience do you want to have in this lifetime with your love relationships, with your friendships, with your adventures, and with your environment? Then how do you want to grow? He breaks that down to your health and fitness, your intellectual life, your skills, and your spiritual life. And then how do you want to contribute? He breaks that down, your career, your creative life, your family life, your community life. I've seen goal setting things be set down and things, and that is an amazing breakdown on how to take those three simple questions and then take them into those categories to help you understand how to become the fullness of who you want to be. It's brilliant.
Really is. All right. Thank you, Mr. Phil. All right. Anyone else in this section have something you'd like to share or have a question about anything? Okay. Well, in the next section of chapter 9, where it's talking about Buddha or badass, I highlighted some things. And one part where it says, to truly be a great warrior in the world, you must step past your fears. It's inevitable that we get attached to people, to our goals, and fear losing them. But a true Jedi knows that attachments to people and goals can hinder us. He says this happens when we attach our sense of self-worth and happiness to someone or something outside of ourselves. Deanna just took a deep breath. All right, now. So Deanna's already shaking her head. No, she's not going to talk about it. But let's touch on this. And don't act like that I'm the only one that just read about grace. Come on, because I'm gonna be the first to tell you. Yes, I just read about me. Okay, yeah. I told y'all in the beginning when we first started, I am the person, and Deanna can attest to this and say yes, I am a witness. And anytime some stuff comes up, I don't I don't like, what's it called, confrontation. And so my harmony will get off real quick, and I get nervous and afraid a lot. And Deanna would say, hey, I need you to breathe and calm down. It's okay. Come back. Because when I stay in that vibration, things just get worse. So when I read this, it says you must step past your fears in order to be truly be a great warrior in this world. And when you attach yourself to people, goals, and fear losing them, it can hinder you, and it really can, because you're depending on things outside of you, to be that warrior, and you can't do that. So I'm done talking on that part. Anyone else got anything they want to share? Deanna's laughing at me.
Well, I think it has to do with where it talks about the second component of being unfuckable with, realizing you are enough. When you create the meaning around others' actions or judge others who don't, Grace, do you know where I am so you can read that? Because part of my end is cut off here. From whole to whole.
Oh,
because
okay.
I don't.
Yes, let me see.
Could you read that for us?
Yes, I can. I was like, where is that? Hole to hole. I saw that in the book. I'm looking. Did you start at the beginning of from hole to hole? When you create meaning? When you create meaning around others' actions or judge others who don't provide what you need, chances are you're really just compensating for a hole within yourself that they reminded you of. Oh my God. All right. In every in every case, the root cause of this is a feeling of not being enough. So we look to others for validation, love, or praise and get hurt when we observe what we believe is criticism, judgment, or rudeness. That is the truth. My goodness. So it was saying from whole HOLE to whole WHOLE. So when you create a meaning, and he calls it the meaning making machine. That's what the author calls it, meaning making machine. So when you create a meaning around others' actions and judgments, truth is it's a hole within yourself that needs filling, and only you can do that. Okay, because when you have that hole, it says you're compensating for that hole that they reminded you of, and the root cause is the feeling of you not being enough. And that is another thing that I can attest to. When you got those holes, you feel like you're not enough. Poke a hole in something. Hey man, that's not. If I poke a hole in this bookmark, that's not all this bookmark. If I poke a hole in this book, it's not whole anymore. I got to fill the hole. So yeah, go ahead, Mr. Phil.
But remember, you're in control of filling the hole within. Here's the paradox. When you plug this hole within yourself and stop demanding that others fill it, you're actually improving the chances of having the kind of great relationships you long for. There is nothing more attractive than a person who loves himself or herself so deeply that their positive energy and love spills over to others and to the world.
Yeah, I highlighted all that. I did. I did. Prophet Jerry, go ahead.
So is that saying basically stop letting everybody in your business?
Since Jerome isn't here.
That's it. Stop letting it. Okay, he just put a paragraph into one sentence. Come on, Prophet Jerry. That's it. Okay, come on and expound on that, Prophet Jerry. Because what happens when you let everybody in your business, sir?
Well, I learned. Let me have the experience from last year. I learned in that when Queen moved to Martinsburg, everybody had something to say. Everybody had something to say. On her end and in my end. And it's just me and her. It's our business of we gonna be together. So it's just between me and her. You know what I'm saying? So then when I moved, when I left the nursing home and I was getting ready to move, everybody had something to say. So it's like, but in a way, I put them there in some of the instances, and some of them I didn't. So when you put people in it, they're gonna give you their opinion. So just stop letting people in and do what you got to do and run with it.
I've never seen a statue erected to the critic, but to the people who've been criticized, many statues have gone up. And my version of that is when you're out front, the only thing they can see is your behind. And I hope that's not your best side.
That's it, Mr. Phil.
Good point.
Out of the book. You know how to have a hole. You know you have a hole to plug when you find yourself feeling hurt or create meaning around someone else's words or actions. You can't control someone else's behavior towards you, but you can control your reactions and how your meaning-making machine constructs that behavior. That is the override in our desire to prove ourselves and our tendency to feel as if we're not enough without love or validation of others. I've said this before. Somebody said something to me and I'd say, "Oh, thank you for the compliment." And they said, "Phil, I didn't intend that to be a compliment." I said, "I know."
Okay, and what Phil just read, the subtitle for that is "Becoming Immune to Others' Behaviors, Criticism, or Judgment." And Mr. Phil just did that. He told him,
I had
"Thank you
to
for
be
the
immune
compliment."
over this weekend, Easter weekend, because growing up, Easter was, put on the frilly dresses for the girls and suits for the boys, and your patent leather shoes and your bonnet and gloves and all of that. Well, I bought the dress for my great niece, and I bought the suit for my great nephew. They're only 2 years old, but still. And I says, well, take a picture of the babies in their clothes so I'll be able to, keep it and all of that. They went to church, but they went to church in t-shirts and blue jeans. I said, well, what happened to the clothes I bought? And she says, I didn't feel like putting them clothes on. I says, well, you know what? At least you have them for next year. And I had to leave it as that, because I wasn't expecting not to have the pictures. And when they had the Easter baskets, they had everything. I said, just take a picture of them. She could at least took the picture, took the clothes off. I wouldn't have known the difference. But she said, I didn't feel like putting them clothes on them kids. We made it to church though. I said, well, okay, you'll just have them for next year. So that's some growth in me, because I could not change what she did. All I could do is change how I would have reacted. And I had to, because that was crazy. But we have to understand too, that no matter what it looks like, and this might be for April as well, when you're going through those times of interviews or meeting people, and you're having your interviews and all of that, and you may come off, because you don't know what they've been through prior to them coming face to face with you. So when those types of things happen, or you're in that kind of atmosphere, just breathe. Take a nice deep breath in, hold it, and let it out, and ask God, Lord, what am I bringing to this? What part of this I'm not feeling it is part of me? And you'd be surprised sometimes that, maybe it really wasn't that person. It was just the circumstances surrounding you even getting there, or the circumstances surrounding them getting there. You don't know, it could have been domestic violence. You don't know, it could have been a death. But sometimes if you breathe it through, and then just ask God, where am I in this, Lord? And he will definitely let you know. And then on the other part of letting people go, I thought one of the hardest things of me is letting go of the ministry full-time that I was at Joan Hunter Ministries. I've been there 18 years. And I'm still with them, but I'm not there full-time. And once I, sat down and shared with them what I was doing, because they support everything I do. And they says, well, we're sad, but we're also glad. And I said, as long as you're glad, I'm happy, God's happy, the universe is happy. Now I can go ahead and do the other things that God has called me to do. And it worked out really well. But it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. But yeah, sometimes we just have to step back and ask, what part am I playing in this situation? And God will let you know. Thank you.
We'd say Duran is an old soul, but Dr. Trask is an old soul too.
Yeah, it truly is. Thank you, Dr. Trask. All right. Now,
let's get into the exercise.
Okay. Before that one, the definition of unfuckable. When you're truly at peace and in touch with yourself, nothing anyone says or does bothers you, and no negativity can touch you. So that's your definition. All right. These are the exercises. Here we go. Here we go. So there are, I believe it's 3 exercises that we have. The exercise 1 is the person in the mirror for creating self-love. So this exercise, when he says, in order exercises for becoming unfuckwittable, you get in the mirror. And he got this from Kamal Ravikant. He's a Silicon Valley entrepreneur and investor. And so he said he wrote a book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And one of the techniques for you to do is to look at yourself in the mirror and say the words, I love you. Now, many of you on this call maybe say, oh yeah, that's easy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you really looked at yourself in the mirror? Like for real. When you're getting ready, do you really look at yourself? And I'm not talking about look at your hair, look at your forehead, look at your clothes. No. I'm talking about look at yourself. Yes, in your face. Because in the book it says talking to yourself in the mirror is like speaking directly to your own soul, especially when you're gazing at yourself in the eye. That is not easy. I am here to tell you, it is not easy. And you can love yourself all day long, but get in that mirror and tell yourself, I love you. And he says, however many times you need to do it, however many times you need to say it to yourself, do it. He said, it turns out it's uncomfortable because it brings out feelings of connectedness and love. So, yeah, that's the first one. Okay. So, if you,
And he says, tie it to a habit that you're already using, like brush your teeth.
yes,
You brush your teeth every morning. You look yourself in the eye every morning to tell yourself you love yourself.
that's right. That's right. So that's one of the exercises. Hey, I dare you to do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to tell you all my results. But I'm going to do it. Okay. You look at yourself in the eye and tell yourself, I love you. And however many times you need to do it. Because, in the back of your head, you be like, girl, you lying. No, keep going. Keep going. Just keep telling yourself. Because Vishen Lakhiani, the author, he said he could vouch for the power of this technique. He said after Kamal shared it with him, and he started practicing it, he experienced remarkably elevated feelings of self-love and security. So he said in less than a week, I could feel myself operating in a wholly new way with the people around me. So that technique does work. All right. Anybody have any thoughts on exercise number one? Okay. Exercise number two, self gratitude for appreciating yourself. So simply think about what it is about you as a human being that you love. Okay. He says you can identify qualities that are big or small, but particularly if your meaning making machine is working overtime, make sure you pinpoint 3 to 5 things every day that make you proud to be who you are. Don't fool me now, because that's hard too. Okay. You you could say I'm cute. Come on, give me for real. Give me not saying that you're not cute and all that kind of stuff, but give me the real 3 to 5 points, pinpoint that you truly love about yourself as a human being. Self gratitude, appreciate yourself, because a lot of times we appreciate others far better or far quicker than we appreciate ourselves. Don't no? Okay. All right. I know. I know someone has. Oh, I know someone has some thoughts on that one. Come on, appreciating yourself. Now, now be honest, because I put my hand up first. Who appreciates others more or quicker than you will appreciate yourself? Thank you, Dr. Sugar. Thank you, Mr. Trees. Thank you to Mr. Field. All right, Miss Susan. Okay. So yes, because it's a lot easier. Okay, we are our biggest critics. It is what it is. But if you work on that and continue to work on that, you can become unavoidable. Okay. Anyone have anything on that part? Mr. Field, did you want to share something on exercise two, or do you want me to get through all the exercises?
Just keep going.
Okay. Exercise three, becoming present. And Mr. Field talks about this one all the time. To remove sudden fear and anxiety. Um, Vishen Lakhiani was talking about how he was getting fear and anxious because he felt uneasy and uneasy pain because he was thinking about certain things that was going on. I believe at his company that he created and things in the family. He said they were the manuscript for my new book. This book that we're reading was due in 2 weeks, and then there was family errands, a sleeping baby, and a stroller next to me, and an 8-year-old who needed help eating. They were at a restaurant. And then he said he felt the weight on his shoulders of all the things he ought to be doing next. But then he remembered advice from his friend, the author Sonia Chaquette. Be present. He said he took his attention away from the fears and worries, and instead he focused on the leaves of the plant on the restaurant table that was before him. And he started looking at the leaves and getting in depth, in detail, looking at the leaves. And he said he noticed the subtle veins running through the leaves. He observed the sunlight falling on the leaves and all of those things. And he used his fingers to feel the texture and pliability of the leaves. And then he said, in 1 minute, he felt as if he had just popped a relaxation pill. Everything went back to almost normal. So this is the power of becoming focused on the present. It takes your mind off whatever stress, fear, judgment, anger, or frustration you're having with the world or the people in it. And it forces you to remember who you are and to be present in the now. Mr. Phil, what's the thing you always saying about being present?
The past resides in your memory. The future resides in your imagination. All you have is the now.
Mm-hmm.
All life is a series of presents. It's one present after another. Everything else exists in the mental state or the spiritual state. The physical state is I'm present, and then I have another present, and then another present. It was interesting. We had part of Dr. Trash. It says, focus on rising and falling of your breath for 10 seconds whenever you feel tense, rushed, or distracted. And what did Dr. Trash tell us? Breathe. This allows you to become fully present in your life. You know that about the thread that gave us, whoever that is. He says, I guess stress. When I get worried, when judgment comes up, it's been an incredible gift and available to us. Remember this, there's nobody alive who's not breathing. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
There's nobody alive who's not breathing.
Yeah.
They breathe. Even if they talk to you about if you're in a tough situation, if you get attacked or you get confronted, a lot of us want to. So they constantly breathe. Whenever you're in any situation, the first thing you should start to think about is just focus on your breath. And that's what Dr. Trask in her wisdom gave us earlier.
All right. Right. Thank you, Mr. Phil. Now, those are the 3 exercises for becoming unavoidable. Look in the mirror, tell yourself you love yourself, and then find 3 to 5 things that every day that make you proud to be who you are. And then also take your attention away from whatever is making you fearful and anxious and be present. He says the next time you feel an apparent urge to lose your cool or you feel judged, insulted, or hurt by a loved one, remember to be present. This quick mental hack to auto-correct your mental state can instantly pull you out of stress and anxiety and return you to happiness in the now. So don't let anybody ruffle your feathers. You just be present. Be present where your feet are. I know Antonio tells us that too. Yeah, my goodness. So those 3 exercises. Try those out. Because we're back, the deacons are back next week, and so we can ask you, hey, who tried out these exercises and what were your results? Okay, how'd that go? Now don't just try it for one day. Now try it for from tomorrow all the way to the next Thursday, so we can see your results and how that worked.
And one way to be present is quit shitting on yourself. Unless you have a time machine, you can't should have done anything.
That's right.
I should have done this. I should have done that. Well, wait a minute. I can't. If somebody says you should have done this, I say, yeah, what I do is I ask them, by the way, do you have a time machine? They go, what are you talking about? Unless you have a time machine, you're asking me to do something that's impossible. I can't should have done anything. Now, next time I can be aware that I do what you want me to do, but I can't should have done it.
That's it. That is it, Mr. Phil. Come on, y'all quiet. No, you are quiet. Come on. No, we are facilitators. We are not lecturers. Okay? No. Yeah, I know y'all got some stuff to say. The deacons are here. The pastor will be back in 2 weeks, but for the next 2 weeks, you have the deacons. Okay? So come on. Don't act like, oh, Pastor ain't here, I ain't coming. No, okay, we are here. Come on and participate so you can get the most out of this, because we're not just up here talking about a book. No, we want you to, whatever it is that needs to be, what's the word? I can't find the word. I don't want to say changed in you, but something along those lines. Whatever you know that needs to
Grow.
thank you. Whatever you need to do to grow, we want to help. Miss April, I saw you unmute your mic. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought Mr. Phil said shit. So I was just having a moment. I was like, what did he say? Shouldn't. Okay, got it. Sorry. So I was trying to get myself together because I thought he said, stop shitting on yourself. I was like, what?
Well, that
Did
too.
anybody else get
Don't even
that, or
start
was it
doing.
just me?
Don't even start doing that. You shouldn't have to stop doing that. You shouldn't even start that.
I'm sorry, forgive me. That's what I thought you said.
Quite all right, Miss April.
That's what I'm laughing like. What is he say? Anybody else catch that? Just me? Okay, I'm going back on mute.
Thank you, Miss April. Yeah, you definitely shouldn't be doing that. You should not be doing that one, okay? Okay. Oh goodness, that was too funny. Y'all got Dr. Trash crying over there, okay? So look. Okay. Oh goodness. Man, where are we?
So we're here next week too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are here
Now
next week as well.
Yeah, but we might get into chapter 10 because all I've got in my notes, because again, I don't have the book, I have the notes from you guys. All I got is like a page and a half left.
Okay, no, well, definitely, I can definitely get I will get the chapter to you so that you can print it off and look at it. But we
So
are,
what, we
yeah.
might go into chapter 10?
No, I know he said he wants us to stay with chapter 9 for the next for 2 weeks, and it's a lot in here. I'm gonna print the pages off for you, Mr. Field, and send it to you in an email
All
so
right.
that you can have them.
Cool.
Definitely, but yes, it's a lot in here that we haven't covered.
Ooh, good.
Yeah,
The article in there, Phil, I just posted about the word should. You'd probably appreciate.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
anything else for the good of the group?
Yeah. Monica posted the word should can be harmful. 3 empowering alternatives. All right. Thank you, Monica.
Monica's awesome.
It's funny you said that because I read it today too. So I was like, well, that's, he brought it up right now. I was like, let me post this link.
We're in the zone.
All right. Anyone else have anything they would like to share based on, what we've been talking about in chapter 9 thus far? Anything you want to, share, like anything you've been experiencing and what you've come to realize, whatever it is that you would like to share, or if anybody has any questions. All right, Ms. DeMarie.
So the exercises, I do highly recommend you do them, but I also highly recommend that you don't quit. I can't begin to express to you how many times I have started that I Love You challenge and never finished it. I have I've even gone as far as just staring at myself in the mirror for 15 minutes straight. And after 3 days, I stopped. Because it's different when you look at yourself. It's not the same as getting dressed in the morning, checking the mirror, making sure your clothes are straight, doing your makeup and looking at yourself in the eye while you're doing your makeup. No, it's a completely different thing. Because when you're staring in the mirror and you're looking at yourself and you're telling you, I love you, Deanna, it brings up a different type of emotion because it forces you to see how much you don't love yourself. It's hard to tell someone you, I love you, when you really don't love them. So just imagine how hard it is to tell yourself that when you suffer with self-depression, low self-esteem, when you suffer with anger, when you suffer with whatever it is that you suffer with, and it will bring up things that you didn't know you had. I was staring at myself in the mirror doing a meditation, a 15-minute meditation of only just looking at myself. And I focused on my eyes. And in 15 minutes, I realized why I did not like looking at myself in the mirror. Because at that time, I still had deeply rooted mommy issues, and I didn't like looking at myself in the mirror because I looked just like my mama. And I started crying. And after 2 days, I stopped doing it.
Wow.
Yeah. The second day, I don't know, it was just the first day I had a lot of revelations. And then when I was going through the I love you challenge, I just kept saying it. I just kept saying it. I'm like, this is nothing. I could do this. And I was just, I love you, Deanna. I love you, Deanna. I love you, Deanna. But when I actually looked at myself, I realized that I had to tell me that I loved me. And the more that realization kicked in, it's like the inner me, the me that wanted to hear that, the me that was dying for love of self, started crying out, and I couldn't take it. So I started crying. When you start the challenges, don't quit. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. You are going to rip off skin, but it's necessary to rip off that skin so you can heal properly. They say when you break a bone and you don't go to the doctor, it heals wrong. And then when you finally get to the doctor has to re-break the bone so they can set it back appropriately so it heals right. All these years, you have been healing wrong. So when you start the I love you challenge, that's you re-breaking your heart. That's you reopening the cut and resetting it so it will heal the way it was supposed to heal in the beginning. Do not, I beg you, do not quit. Keep a journal in the process, but do not quit.
Wow.
All right. Oh my goodness.
Thank you for having the courage
Mm-hmm.
to being that authentic.
Yes. I got a question. Yes, I have a question. Was the second day harder than the first? Is that why what caused you? I'm sorry. I gotta know.
Made me put in my second earbud. At this point, because I am stubborn as a mule on a hot sunny day, I knew what I was going into. So I had already started shutting myself off from the process. So it was easy for me to quit. See, quitting is a self-defense mechanism. So when I realized the pain I was going to go through while doing that practice, I instantly went into self-defense mode. So I started quitting the moment I finished it the first day, because I knew I was not prepared for the pain that was going to follow if I continued. That's why I'm saying, please do not quit or you will miss your healing. And the crazy thing is, I was told to do the challenge so I can heal myself from within to the outside, so I can heal my child. Because for a 6-year-old to think that their mother does not like kids, but to also go as far as thinking their mother does not like them, mommy had some healing she had to do. But I was not prepared for it. It took me a week of pulling off skin to heal to a point now where my son randomly calls me now just to say, I love you. I had to release some things, but it would have happened sooner had I not quit. So when you begin the journey of these exercises, do not quit. Keep a journal, because when you start these exercises, it is going to open up you. You are going to feel the things that you have been hiding deep within your soul. The things that only you knew were there, that you know nobody else will never be able to see. The things that you hide deep within you, that every now and then something will trigger them and you're like, why am I feeling like this? Those things, the things that you forgot you hid, they're going to come up. So keep a journal while you're in the process of doing these exercises so you can write that stuff out. Because if you don't release it, it will stay in you. And when you release it and you keep consistently doing the exercises, what you're doing is something that Mr. Phil tells us all the time. You can't when you release something, you leave a hole there. You consistently doing the exercise fills that hole back up. Because if you don't fill it with the positivity of telling yourself, I love you, you'll fill it with something else that's even worse than the hate you already had for yourself. So please, I beg you, don't be like me. Don't let your self-defense mechanism kick in. Your heart, your body, your mind will do whatever it needs to do to protect you. It will even protect you from your healing if it knows you're going to go through pain. So do not quit. Re-break the bones so you can set them properly and heal correctly, because you will never be able to love anybody or anything until you learn to love yourself. And you will never be successful. Your relationships will always have ups and downs. If you have kids, the relationships between you and your kids will be crazy. My son is 6, and in his precious little 6 years, mommy has been crazy. But I'm resetting myself so that he does not grow up having to reset because of mommy. So please don't stop. For yourself. Forget the people around you, because once you heal you, that will flow out of you. So for yourself, for your internal peace, love, and joy, don't quit. I am begging you with everything in me. Don't quit, and go at this knowing it's not going to be easy, but go at this like you go at everything else in life. This is it for me. I have nothing else. I will not give up. I will not stop. And you will heal wonderfully.
All right, Miss DeBree. That's it. That is mic drop. That's it. I'm not going behind that either. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Deanna. And in doing these exercises, if you have to put it on the back burner, put it on the back burner. If you have to write and journal and rip it up, it doesn't matter. At least you wrote it. And that took some courage for her to share that with us. That took some courage and deep love for her son, so he doesn't have to go through that. And I do believe, Deanna, by you quitting, when you started up again, you were stronger. Kind of like, you quit because of the pain. You were tearing at your skin. You was doing all these things so you wouldn't have to relive that pain. But I honestly feel if you wouldn't have felt that pain, the testimony wouldn't have been as powerful. Because when you let go of that pain, you had to gain power. And now you're sharing that for us to be able to go ahead, feel the pain. You're feeling it anyway. Feel like shit. You feel like shit anyway. Feel like crap. You feel like crap anyway. But at least you've got to get it out. Because if you don't, unforgiveness is going to bring out rheumatoid arthritis, IBSD, constipation, Crohn's, problem with your sciatica, other arthritis, and internal, especially tummy problems. That's that unforgiveness. So you've got to learn step by step, sentence by sentence, and it doesn't have to make sense to you. Be like Deanna, don't quit. But if you got to put it on the back burner for a little bit, you got to go and put it in one of them purses in the closet in the back. Okay. But remember, it's your story and it's your healing. And I think that we're in such a time right now, we're kind of tired of this pain and we're tired of hurting. I had to get to that point, but it took me 7 years, Deanna. And I was in a group of 350 people. And I was asked to come up on stage. And they had a big mirror up there. And I had to say, I love you, sugar. That was the longest. And I had to go up those 3 stairs. And I had to walk across that stage. And I said, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing this. Well, Apostle was standing there. And I thought, oh, I have to do this. So after half a box of Kleenex, snot and snorting all over myself, I took a deep breath in and I let it out and I said it. And she had me saying it while she continued on with the class. And it came out. I thought I had fainted and was never going to come back up again. But when I came back up again, I can say it so nicely now. Sugar, I love you. And I mean it. Because that's how other people can love you. Because I love me now. I'm pretty cool. I didn't always feel that way about myself. Oh, no. But today, it's a new day. Keep writing, keep journaling, keep in the mirror, get naked before the Lord. Take it all off. And what you don't like, change. Thank you.
Woo, woo. All right, Dr. Sugar.
We love you too.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm not going behind that either. So, all right. That Miss April, I saw you cut your camera on. I didn't know if you had something you wanted to share, but or if Dr. Sugar made you cut your camera on when she was talking.
So what had happened? No, it's probably been about 5
the
weeks.
Lord.
It's get naked before the Lord. It's been 5 weeks that I've been calling in, I believe. And the first 2 weeks I didn't turn my camera on because I want to say I was crying majority of the time. I'm so much, Jerry knows this, brother Jerry, he knows this. We used to go to the same church years ago. Anyway, I'm such a crybaby. So as Deanna was speaking, I was like, number one, this is reminding me of the low self-esteem course that I took. And number two, I feel like you're talking directly to me. Okay. All right, Lord, I hear you. And I'm going to do this for me. So that's why I turned my camera off, because I was like, let me get some tissue, because here we go. I thought this was going to be a cool class. I was going to ask a question, I was going to participate, and that was going to be it. No. Yeah, it's been 5 weeks, and I think I've cried every single class. Every class. Yeah. So that's, I don't know if you wanted me to share that or not, but
Hey,
that's why I turned my
yes.
camera off.
That's okay. Good deal. Good deal. Miss D, did you have anything you want to share?
Keep crying, let it out, because it's one of two things. It's either you're tired, or your soul is crying out to you and it's cleansing and releasing. Tears are not always bad. I can't remember who told me that, but tears are not always bad. My dad once told me a story. He said he was sitting in his rocking chair, and I'm paraphrasing it, but he was sitting in his rocking chair one day. He just started crying, and there wasn't anything going on. My dad is not a crier, and he said it was one of those ugly cries. So you got a grown man with one of these ugly cries. And he was like, he kept asking, why am I crying? Why am I crying? And he said he heard a voice saying, because this is how much pain I feel for my children. Let the cry out, because you never know. It could literally be your soul crying out to you saying, please hear me. Like, I'm hurting and you're not addressing me. See, we have a tendency to ignore the child in us. But the child in us is not what we think it is. The child in us is our universe inside of us. That's our God in us. And when we ignore the God in us, our souls, your soul will literally cry out to you. It's letting you know something's not right. So cry until you understand why you're crying. Don't stop the tears. One of the things that I wish I would not have learned as a child is how to be strong. Because in that strength, I don't cry. I only cry when I get to a point where I'm so tired of being strong. But as a child, I learned how to be strong, so I don't know how to show weakness. And that hurts me as an adult. Because I will seriously, something will hit me and and I need to cry it out, but I will, all right, I'm okay, and keep on moving. But that's not the healthiest thing for you to do for yourself, for your soul. The worst thing I learned as a child is how to be strong. I was never taught it's okay to be weak. We sometimes think crying makes us weak, and I could be wrong, but I kind of heard that when you said, I've just been crying for a week straight. It doesn't make you weak. It does not make you weak. What it does is it lets you know, hey, I'm not right. I'm hurting too much. And I'm hurting so much to the point where my soul is crying out. So whatever comes to you when you're crying, whatever relief you feel, if you feel the weight of the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, that's why you were crying. You were crying off the weight. So it's okay to cry. And don't even wonder why you're crying so much. Just let it out. Because the more you hold it in, like Dr. Trask said, we think stress causes issues, but we don't understand that there is a such thing as emotional stress, and it's just as dangerous as the stress we believe we get from jobs and people. That emotional stress will cause the ulcers, will cause the IBS, will cause the rheumatoid arthritis, will cause the high blood pressure. That crying is your body saying, I can't take it anymore. It's killing me to hold this in. So let it out. Crying is not weakness. Crying is a strength. So be strong and let it out.
Also understand it's a way of healing, and it's a way of your body releasing toxins. Like when you perspire, when you're exercising, you don't hold that sweat in. You want to pedal some more if you're on that treadmill, or jog some more if you're jogging, because you know it's doing what? Getting impurities out of your system. So the same thing with those tears, it's getting impurities out of your soul. It's getting impurities out of your emotions. It's getting impurities out of your heart, out of your muscles, your ligaments, your tendons, your stomach, every area and organ of your body. So you don't want to hold that back and bring sickness. Tears are healing. Tears also is a weapon. That gives you, again, Deanna was talking about, it's the strength. And there's strength. I mean, Jesus wept. So there's no weakness in crying, it's healing. So the next time that comes over you, you can go, hallelujah, thank you, I'm healing. Hallelujah, thank you, I'm healing. And understand and repeat that I'm healing because I'm loving myself more. Put it all together and know that you're healing. And that's what's important to us, is that we need to heal. We need to heal that little child, that inner child. Like Deanna was talking about, she wasn't taught about how to be weak. No, she had to learn how to be strong, take care of that little brother of hers and all of that. So you got to understand there's a purpose and a place for every tear that you've shed. And remember also, it's kept in a little bottle up there in heaven. So your tears will never be in vain. So cry, laugh, be happy, heal. That's what's important, healing. Thank you.
That's it, Dr. Sugar. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Prophet Jerry, I see your hand up, sir. What you got for us to share,
It's
sir?
not me.
I was listening, and since I've been hanging out, but I was listening to Miss Deanna and say that, you know, she wished that she was never told to be strong. And a lot of times I'm not a hugely emotional person, but I find that as I get older, I'm starting to be a little bit more emotional. I found it to be a little bit annoying for myself, because I was just like, dog. I was like, I just sometimes I just start crying over stuff, but it's I was saying to Jay, I was like, man, I was like, man, but in a way, being strong was work. I thought it was working so well, for me. But it's sometimes I find that when I've had literally enough, and I'm just like, and I just find myself crying, and I'll be like, man. And I'll be like, okay, I need some help. But it's sometimes it's difficult to get out of that thinking. But I know that crying is you know what I'm saying, lethargic, and you need to get those feelings out. But it's definitely not an overnight sensation, because it didn't happen that way for me. It's taken some time. I think I'm getting more in touch with my feelings now, because then I just kind of put stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff. And then so literally I blew up and it was World War III. And I was just, but it's it definitely wasn't an overnight sensation for me, but I'm kind of glad that I've seen that in myself, and I'm just like, okay, trying to do better with my emotional health, and just be like, okay, I can't do this, or I don't have the answers, or it's okay not to know because I'm human. So it's definitely not an overnight thing, but it's cool to empower yourself and try to make a change, especially, but it's, you gotta make a change because something in the past isn't working. You got to do something different.
Oh, go ahead.
So I don't know if y'all saw Grace laughing because as Queen Linsome was talking, when she said, it builds up, and I just go off. I call that scorching the whole damn earth.
That's it.
Because that's exactly what happens. The whole earth gone. And you standing at the North Pole with a fan because it's hot. Because you done scorched the whole earth. I've been there. I still go there quite often. Like you said, it ain't an overnight sensation. No, ma'am. It is not an overnight sensation. And when I tell you, I'm getting better. I'm getting better at not scorching the earth because I've seen my son scorch the earth. This is wicked fast. I have seen my son scorch the earth, and all I could think was, man, I have been a mighty fine example because he does a wonderful job. So I feel you, Queen. I do. I feel you. It's not an overnight sensation, and that's why. Just keep going. Just keep going. And the one thing I love about this place is because it's a safe place. Mm-hmm. I can sit here and tell y'all, yeah, I just scorched the earth a few times this year. This year. I have cried this year. I can sit here and tell you that. And because I understand that there's also, it took me a long time. So I thank you, Queen Linsome, for your transparency. I thank you, Miss April, for your transparency. And I thank you, Dr. Sugar, because it takes understanding that it's okay to talk about it. Because in the process of my transparency is not only healing for me, but it lets someone else know they're not suffering alone. And that is the biggest thing that everybody suffers with, man, woman, child, because they think they're in it by themselves. So if I have to be transparent to help you heal, I will be. And trust me, this is a new learned behavior. Because remember, I told you I was taught to be strong. Yeah. Strong women don't cry. That's right. And strong women don't talk about their weaknesses. But what I wasn't taught was my weaknesses are my strengths, and my strengths make me broken. If that makes sense. This is how it came out. So it's okay. Cry it out. Because when I started crying, Queen Linsome, I thought something was wrong with me. I thought something had broke. I really thought something in me had broke. Because my aunt used to tell, my grandmother passed away at the age of 53. I was in the I was in the 6th grade. I watched my grandmother deteriorate in front of my eyes from stage 4 cancer. Like I literally watched a woman go from 100 and some odd pounds to a 98-pound woman. And I never cried. When I did want to cry, I was told you have to be strong for your mom, because my mom was the one that took family medical leave to take care of my grandmother. So she was there every day. Years later, my aunt told me, she said, "You're not right." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm not right." And she told me, she said, "You never mourned your grandmother." Now I want you to understand, this is the woman who was my life. When I had a ritual with both of my grandmothers, they was up early in the morning. I was up early in the morning. When my grandmother woke up, she fixed her a hot cup of tea. And before I could even get out the bed, she already had my cup in place, my little lemon packet, and my little tea bag ready for me with my little sugar. And I would sit at the end of the table while she sat to the left of me. She would read her newspaper and drink her hot tea. I would just sit there, half asleep, drink my hot tea, never said a word. And then when I finished, I went back and laid down. This was the grandmother that was at every recital, every school play, every school award ceremony, never missed a birthday, never missed. This was that grandmother. This was the grandmother who, she was the matriarch of the family, even though she wasn't the oldest, but she was the matriarch. Everyone was at her house. I was the oldest grandchild. So I was taught at a young age not to show weakness, because I didn't want my grandmother to see me cry, because I was afraid of losing her. And I didn't cry because I wanted to be strong for my mother, because when she broke down, she was going to need somebody there, because she was also in the process of going through a divorce with my father. I wasn't supposed to know that though. But anyway, so being taught, and the crying, like I cry now, like when I think about her and the different experiences and the times that I've seen her since she's been gone, I cry now. But I thought something in me was broken because I was taught to be strong. And to me, the definition of strong was never crying, because crying is weakness. So Queen Winsome, I'm going to tell you what I told the beautiful Miss April. Cry, let it out. Don't question it. Don't worry. Just let it out, because like Dr. Sugar said, you are cleansing yourself. Not only are you cleansing the impurities, but you're cleansing your soul of the pain that you've been holding on to, that you didn't realize you was holding on to, the stuff you done swept up under the rug, the stuff you done hid in the closet. The closet door is bulging and the rug is now a mountain, and your soul is saying, "I'm tired. I can't do this no more." Let it out. Each and every, just let it out. And you're going to come to a day where you're going to cry, and it's going to be tears of joy. And you're going to laugh. You're going to smile, because you're going to be free. So keep crying. Let it out. Don't hold it in. I'm done.
All right. All right. Well, anybody else have anything they would like to share? Miss April, I didn't know if you wanted to respond to all the people that were saying, sharing with you and pouring into you. Just. Okay.
I just want to say I appreciate all of you. That's all. I just appreciate you. And I appreciate just you. I just appreciate all of you. I'll just say that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Deanna was sending you hugs. She was. All right. Anyone else have anything to share? Mr. Field says, for the good of the group. Oh, she got a heart, Deanna. She did a heart thingy. She did the heart. All right. Well, Mr. Fields, anything else before we conclude? All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening on Integrity Leadership Call, Chapter 9. We will be here again next Thursday. The deacons will be here, so be prepared. Okay, like tonight, we wanted y'all to participate. We're going to want y'all to do the same thing because it helps and it heals what it's been doing today. Mr. Field. Oh, does it? All right.
Love you.
Love you more. Everyone,
Bye.
have a great
Bye.
evening. You can play better. You can dominate. Everyone, take care.
Thank everybody for sharing.
Very welcome.
Yeah,
Be safe on the
great
road,
call,
sugar.
guys. Thank you.
Yes,
Love you more.
love you
Bye-bye.
more. Bye-bye. Be safe, sugar.